Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Catalfamo. I'm the technical sales engineer here at eBridge Connections. I want to thank you for joining me today. Today's webinar is entitled "The Future of eBridge Integration is Here." And what I would like to do today is really a couple of things. The first is that I just want to go over a brief introduction to eBridge Connections. I expect that many of you have worked with us in the past or have been on other webinars, so I won't spend too much time on that. Then I want to go over what I'm calling the evolution of integration. So it wouldn't make much sense for us to speak about the future of eBridge integration being here now if we didn't recap how we got here. And there's really three overall major components to our evolutionary history in terms of how we deliver integration projects, with the third being our current state of how we have simplified ERP integration and made it much more flexible and accessible. I'm going to go through a brief demonstration of our current delivery model, and I will do that by posting an order into our Sage Mass ERP system, and then of course we'll have a little bit of time left at the end for some questions. So eBridge has been doing data integration for what will be 20 years this year, and that's all we do is accounting and ERP integration. At least that's our core competency here at eBridge, meaning we don't get involved in reselling or deploying the accounting and ERP systems, nor do we host or design your web source for you. We're purely a data integration company, and that's where our strengths lie. We have a dedicated staff in-house of more than 40 integration professionals that will scope and deploy and support your accounting and ERP integration projects. And we support a wide variety of major SMB ERP and accounting packages. All right, so let's start back. I actually started with eBridge way back in 2004, and that will be about 8 years in this February. And when I started, eBridge only did EDI integration, and it was a full on-premise model. EDI and, of course, file integration, meaning spreadsheets, if you needed a CSV file, for example. But what this on-premise model entailed was that you needed to get an EDI van, which was an electronic post office that routed your data, and that was something you needed to procure and had variable fees depending on the volumes of transmissions you did on a monthly basis. So that was something you needed to go out and do on your own. And then there was a whole host of software components that needed to be built, installed, and maintained that really were third-party applications, and many of them, if not most of them, were not within the realm of eBridge's technology solution. So that involved communications software in many cases. For those of you that remember, there was Clio, there was Cyclone, there were all types of other pure communications protocol software that was used to move data back and forth between the van and other systems. Then you needed an EDI translator to validate the data that was going back and forth and generate things like your functional acknowledgments and so on. So that was a separate component that needed to be maintained as well. So you needed to install your EDI standards. And when your partners added business documents or changed EDI versions, the translator would likely need to be updated. Then, of course, you needed a database, and not a big deal here, but the solution that did require a SQL Server database for the solution to run, and so that was another component of complexity that needed to be factored in. Then, of course, we had the integration software and ERP adapter, which is really the main component that eBridge provided in that regard. So that actually interfaced between usually the translator software. So once the translator was done with the data, the integration software would pick it up and run it into the accounting and ERP system, and vice versa, going in the other direction. the integration software would pass the data back over to the translator for validation and then ultimately back out through the van using the communication software and back out to the trading partner. And of course, with so many pieces of software, there were operating system compatibility considerations or issues that needed to be factored in. Data mappings were done one per document per trading partner, so doing, say, 850 purchase orders with Walmart required an EDI map, and then if you wanted to do EDI with Home Depot, you need another EDI map. So it was, and those were deployed on-premise or on our customer side. So if there were ever any changes, we needed to go back and update all those data mappings, which had a cost to it and wasn't very efficient. And under this model, you were probably fairly reliant on having in-house network and database administrators to help keep all the parts up and alive. So to summarize, we had a lot of different components that weren't specifically designed to work with one another. They often did work fine, but it took some setup and configuration, but these were typically components provided by different third-party providers, which made support relatively difficult and costly. If the solution didn't work, it was up to one of our support members to figure out where the problem was, and then sometimes we sent you off to speak with your communication software provider or your translator provider. And then, of course, dealing with variable EDI van fees made it difficult to predict, on a monthly basis what your budget was going to be for your EDI solution. Now, there is a plus side, and that is that once it's set up, this model can remain stable for many years. In fact, over the past 12 to 24 months, we've heard from a number of our customers who've been running our integration product for many, many years. In fact, their ERP was DOS-based. So that's a testament to the, the fact that it's a solid solution, but, it made things like doing upgrades to your operating system or your other hardware infrastructure more difficult, if not impossible. So here's just a brief visual on what that looks like. So on the far left, we have our EDI partners. The mailbox here represented by the EDI van, which again was your responsibility to procure. Then we had our communication software, our translator, and our document mappings, all managed by a piece of software that was driven off a Microsoft SQL database. And again, it all worked well, but it wasn't the most elegant delivery for by today's standards. Right. And then several years ago, we made some changes to our delivery architecture, and we called that ePortal. And we still had EDI and file integration capabilities, but we have also added the ability to connect to various entities via web services. And that was a major milestone because it meant that we were able to now communicate with any web-based application using web services and communicate with their APIs. So any of the e-commerce shopping carts out there that have an API, as well as your CRM applications and other applications maybe that we don't even have a connector for, can all communicate through our platform using web services. So we've eliminated the requirement for you to procure an EDI van. We took responsibility for that within ePortal, and so you can deal with a fixed rate van fee, so you don't have to worry about having that be a variable component every month. And we've also eliminated the need for on-premise communication and translator software because all of that is also handled within our ePortal hosted environment. So again, we're simplifying the delivery and actually adding functionality or at least making it more robust because now we're not dealing with all types of different third-party applications every time we need to deploy a new solution based on what our customers choose for these software components, but we have full control over this, and it makes for a faster and more stable delivery. Now, with this particular model, we still do have a piece of software on-premise that facilitates the integration with the ERP system. It is database-driven, and there are still potentially some operating system compatibility considerations that we need to take into account. But for the most part, we've taken great strides to simplify the solution and add to the functionality. We've also simplified the data mappings by eliminating the need to have one document per trading partner. Now we only need one document or one mapping per document type. So orders coming in, invoices going out, those each require only one EDI or one document mapping each. So if we're bringing orders in from an e-commerce marketplace, let's say Amazon, and we're bringing orders in from an EDI partner, let's say Walmart, both of those are fundamentally treated as orders as they travel through ePortal, and they're converted to a standard format, so we really only need one orders mapping on-premise to handle orders from all different marketplaces. So that's a huge enhancement to the solution as well. So in this case, the EDI mappings are handled within ePortal itself, so the trading partner document specifications, such as the Walmart specs, are held on our platform. So if they do make any changes, or I should say when they make changes, we can make that change once, and that will apply to all of our customers who are using that Walmart connector. So it's much easier to manage changes, and those are within our responsibility now and included as part of your connector. We don't charge for those types of changes to the when the trading partner adjusts their field mappings. And I wouldn't say we've eliminated, but we've greatly reduced the need to have a dedicated or in-house expertise relating to networking and database administration. Now, you likely have that anyway for other functions, but by moving to eliminate more of the software components required for the solution, we're less reliant on that administrative function. So here's what things look like within the ePortal model. Just to go over it very briefly, it looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. The first bucket at the top are your e-commerce connectors or web store connectors that we can now access due to having the ability to communicate via web services. Similarly is true for our CRM connectors, Salesforce, Microsoft CRM, and really anything that communicates via web services. And we still have EDI, but we've put under ePortal now the VAN communication and EDI translator responsibilities. And still on-premise, as I mentioned, we have a small software component, as well as which is driven by a database, and we have our EDI, or sorry, our document mappings, which, as I mentioned earlier, are greatly simplified due to not having to link each partner and document, but now we just do it by document. And you'll notice that we've now added the ability to support other hosted applications, in this case NetSuite, which is a cloud-based ERP application and CRM application. So now we've also expanded our back office reach to include those types of applications as well. All right, so to summarize on ePortal, we've eliminated some major software components relating to communications and data validation. We've added the ability to connect to all types of other applications via web services. We've moved trading partner-specific data mappings to eBridge, which means they're going to always be up to date and consistent, so we don't have to worry about versioning out there in the wild with all of our customers. One thing I didn't mention is that ePortal allows you to connect via web services and really communicate with any application out there. So say we haven't built a connector for a particular shopping cart or other, really any other application that uses web services, you can get the specifications from us on how to communicate via web services and push and pull that data directly with our ePortal solution. And so that's a very robust solution. You don't have to be reliant on us building a connector for your specific application or workflow that you use internally. We've replaced our EDI van fees, if you do EDI, with predictable flat rate fees. So that makes it much easier to manage. You don't have to get a bill from your van every month and not really know, if you're going to be paying $500 or $5,000. Again, that's highly dependent on the volume of transactions you're doing. And of course, with this model, by simplifying the amount of work we need to do within your company on your servers, we have a faster deployment. Which a large portion of our solutions today are still delivered with ePortal, and in fact, ePortal is the major component of where we are today, but we continue to build on and enhance it, and that's where we are today, and this is where we kind of pick things up. All right, so unofficially, we're calling this next incarnation of our delivery eBridge on the cloud, and we still have EDI and file integration and communication via web services. We still, don't require a van. We got rid of that back with ePortal, and we've also really taken major steps because we've removed the need to have on-premise software as you might know it. So that's really the major change to the solution and the delivery of the solution. So if you think back to a previous slide, I mentioned we had an eBridge software component with the application adapter or integration adapter for your ERP system. We've actually removed all of that, and we replaced it with a small agent. And just to give a visual on that, you can see here that for this particular agent, as I called it, I've made the eBridge logo much smaller. And the reason for that is that this is really an invisible service. It's a Windows service that runs behind the scenes that communicates with your ePortal account to push and pull data. And as I said, it doesn't have a user interface. So there's no software to manage. Everything from your perspective now is done by logging into our corporate homepage and logging into the ePortal, and then configuring the location of your ERP database and specifying some particulars. Certainly our team here would help you get all of that connected, but there are some major advantages to this particular delivery model, as you might imagine. So this now is really become a pure software as a service delivery model. There's no on-premise software to manage or maintain. That aside from the small agent, which I believe also has some, the presence of it encompasses some legal issues with Sarbanes-Oxley and making sure that your ERP doesn't have kind of an open pipe to the internet. So this also acts as a sort of gatekeeper. But again, it's all remains behind the scenes, so that there's nothing really for you to interface or interact with there. By logging in through our website, you can manage all of your marketplace and accounting system connectivities and business rules and business logic. The solution truly can be deployed in minutes once your ePortal account is set up, and we configure the connectors that you're exchanging information with out in the marketplaces. There's just this small agent that needs to be installed. Very simple to get that going and running on your server. And then once that's done, we can even verify from here that it's installed properly, because it will ping back to our servers to let us know that everything's connected successfully to the ERP system. One thing I overlooked on the previous screen was that we eliminated was the data mappings. So we removed and eliminated the on-premise data mappings, and with ePortal, having one document per transaction or one mapping per transaction type is very, very good. What we've done is taken that a step further, and we've said that we know what most people have in place or expect for field mappings for any given business document. So when we bring orders into Dynamics GP or Sage ERP 100, we know how to create the sales order. So right out of the gate, we'll be able to deliver and integrate orders into those systems, and that's where we get into the deployed in minutes. We no longer have to wait to build a data map for that specific business document. With business rules, what we're doing is we've implemented modular transformations or data mappings that apply to the data that's being processed through the system. So what we're effectively doing is applying a transformation based on a particular requirement that you might have. It might be, make the bill to address the same as the ship to address, and then any data that comes through will apply that. Without that rule, the bill to address and the ship to address would be otherwise identical. So in that case, the business rules deal on an exception basis with manipulating that data. We'll create orders out of the gate, but if you need us to manipulate something, you can do so. And the business rules can be moved around, they can be modified, and the sequence can be altered. And these are going to be community-based, meaning they're tested within the business rules. You'll see how many times it's being used in production, and this affords a much more robust way of dealing with the manipulation of data, because for any given web store to ERP integration, the data is going to be manipulated. It's specific to your internal business process, but there's general rules that you'll use the same as your neighbor or someone else in your industry. So we wanted to standardize that approach so that you can deploy those and be confident that they've already been tested and are working out there in the real world. Okay. New touch points, updates, and customizations are delivered on demand without physically establishing a remote connection. That just means we can push any of those things from our head office here, so that we don't need to connect to your system, arrange a time that's convenient, and work with somebody to get those installed and configured. All of it can be done remotely from here. As I mentioned, we replaced the software with a small, invisible integration agent. All right, so let's have a closer look at eBridge on the cloud and ePortal. I'm going to log in through our corporate homepage here. The main area of interest is going to be under transactions. Okay, and we're now looking at the inbox of ePortal, or the eBridge integration platform as a whole now, that encompasses ePortal as well as the eBridge on the cloud approach to working with the ERP system. So I've actually had a colleague submit a new web order, and it will be a minute or two, and it should show up. Oh, here we go. And you can see here that we have a new order from Magento eCommerce, and it's a new order. And if we refresh this a few times, we will see that the order moved from a new state to a pending state. Here we go. Pending because we've now put it in a queue, or kind of your mailbox, and we're now waiting for the eBridge agent to pick up that data and run it into the ERP system. And what will happen is we will get an integration message and an integration document reference number feeding back from the ERP system, displaying the success or any issues that came about. And if we do see an integration document reference number, that means that we will get the sales order number that was created in the ERP system. So let's just have a quick look at the order itself. For anyone who hasn't seen ePortal yet, this is the inbox contains everything coming in from the outside world. The outbox would contain everything going back out to the marketplaces. This document number is the web store, in this case Magento, generated order number. If we click on that, we'll see some particulars about the order. This happens to be order number 6 on Magento. And we have an AM/FM cassette SKU with a quantity of 1 and a price of $50. And we have 2 storage cubes at a unit price of $75 for a total of $150. So, and of course we have some freight. I should mention that for the most part we expect that you'll work out of your ERP system or web store, and that this is really a way for you to audit the data going back and forth, but it isn't a destination. I know it happened pretty quick, but we saw the order pop in here from Magento, and as I refresh the screen here, we now see that we have an integration message back and an integration document reference number, which, as I said, is the sales order number generated in the Sage 100 ERP or NAS 9200 system. And that gives us, in one neat view, the order number from the web store and the order number in the ERP system. And we can look at this and be confident that that order made it into the ERP system successfully. And this is an enhancement to our previous delivery model, where within this web application, we didn't get that type of feedback from the ERP system. There was another means to go about getting that, and there was a bit of a disconnect. So with this, we've made one kind of unified place that we can see a status of all of our integration documents. If we click on the integration message, we'll get some basic information here. A lot of it is most useful by our internal team here, but you can see that we did create a new order successfully within the ERP system. All right, let's just really quickly head over to the ERP system. I do have a virtual environment running where the ERP is running, and I need to complete the login here. All right, so this is the box or environment that consumed this particular order. As you can see, there's no eBridge application running. If we look at the task manager and we look at the services, we see this EOTC service running. That's the only real evidence that there's anything running on your system here. That, like I said, there's no software to install, no corresponding database that needs to house all of the integration components. So this is really the only thing that's running here. If we go under modules, sales order entry. Okay, and here we have the basic order in the ERP system. Now the specifics and the values that get populated and how they get populated really is how we can work with you to set certain conditions. So, for example, you might say to us, hey eBridge, for orders coming from New York State, set salesperson code as 0100, otherwise set it as 0200. So there's all types of considerations with getting this, how we get this order into your system according to how you need it processed. But fundamentally, out of the gate, we're going to be able to create an order successfully very, very quickly. Just stepping through some of the tabs here, we have the bill to and ship to address, which would match our order that we saw in ePortal. And then over in the line items, we have our AM/FM cassette, quantity 1, unit price of 50, and our storage cube, quantity 2, unit price 75. So essentially, we are able to deploy the solution with very, very little information from you, other than some information about your web store or other connector that we're implementing, and then the location of your ERP database, which we would enter in the configuration of ePortal, and from that point, we're able to create orders, and tweaking the orders to make it look the way you need or you want, of course, is the remaining work that we need to do, but it's much, much less work than writing a data map for every single transaction type, and going back even further, having us work with 5 or 6 different software components in order to pull an integration together. So these are huge, huge steps that we've taken to provide a better experience for everyone, a faster deployment, and more accurate. So I just wanted to give you a taste of our new product. Again, it's unofficially being called eBridge on the Cloud. That may change, but we wanted to let everyone know what developments we're undertaking here at eBridge Connections to provide the best integration experience possible. All right. Right. In the interest of keeping things relatively moving along relatively quickly here, I wanted to open it up to some question and answers. If anyone has any questions, I would love for you to submit them through the GoToWebinar interface. Any questions that we don't get to, we will certainly follow up on and contact you directly, or put up on our website, or otherwise make the answers available to everyone. I don't see any questions. We'll give it another minute or so. Either I've confused the heck out of everyone, or everything's clear as glass. I'm not sure which. But we would love your feedback regardless, to let us know if this was informative and useful for you. Again, the goal was to give you an idea of where we have come from as a company, and where we are today, and where we're going. And the goal is to ultimately get all of our ERP systems migrated to this delivery model, and we've added a number of ERP and accounting solutions to this model, the eBridge on the Cloud delivery model. And like I said, we're working hard every day to get the remaining ones up and live. All right, I see a question. This is a great question. It says, what ERP platforms seem to work for best for e-commerce stores? So, we typically don't get involved in recommending a specific ERP system. We're able to work within the limits of the different systems we've worked with in the past, whether it be everything from QuickBooks right up to Math 500 and Dynamics AX and GP. There really isn't a best ERP for e-commerce. I would say that you should work with a reseller of the ERP systems that know that you can explain your business model to. If you sell simple products like a water bottle, or complex products that are configurable like T-shirts that might have colors and sizes and other attributes, or to take that a step further, you deal with perishable items like food. The different ERPs handle those with different abilities and strengths, and you want to make sure that first and foremost it works for your business. I would say that we have workarounds for just about any limitation of an ERP package. I would say that in the short term, at least, one of the issues is that the ERPs really didn't consider the web store or e-commerce model explicitly. So, for example, having something in the item master of your ERP system that recognizes that this item that is in your database is suitable to send out to your e-commerce marketplace. So, for example, you might have items that you're not allowed to sell online, but you can sell other ways offline, phone, fax, brick and mortar. Having some type of flag in your ERP database that says, okay, this is acceptable to sell on the web. ERPs are just starting to incorporate an explicit field for that type of thing, but we can certainly identify any logic that can be used to indicate whether it's appropriate to sell on the web or not. If you have specific questions, we'd be happy to handle that offline in terms of if you have something in mind in terms of best or better ERP packages than the other. But we really stopped short of specifically recommending a particular package, but we'll do our best to point you in any direction. Let's see here. Is there any support for XML files? Yes. So depending on the capacity that you're referring to, because support for XML files can mean really anything at any stage. Fundamentally, we do support XML files and can work as well with proprietary files like flat files. Perhaps your warehouse has a CSV file format that it wants to receive or want you to consume. We can work with proprietary data formats. Does information flow both ways, meaning if I update pricing in the ERP, is it updated on the web? Every function that we implement or every workflow is done explicitly, and that definitely is something that we do. How we do it is definitely needs to be discussed with you specifically in terms of how often do we need to update the pricing, what triggers it, how many SKUs are we talking about updating at what frequency, but yes, that's not a problem. Could you show how to add a new partner like eBay? It's not really easy for me to show that to you today. Right now, the new connectors are added by our team here to your account, and then we can either complete the configuration or we can have you log in and put in your credentials. I will say that part of the eBridge on the Cloud evolution is going to be the ability for you to log in to your account, pick from a list of connectors, pick from a list of document flows, so orders going down, price updates going back, and add those as you need them, a la carte, if you will, and deploy those and configure all of them yourself. Right now, those are things that we would help you with in terms of adding a connector, but the goal long-term is to make that a fully self-service delivery. As you can imagine, the technology and the foundation for getting those connectors live kind of precedes the tools that allow you to manage it yourself. So the functionality always kind of is one step ahead of the tools to administer that. But that's something that's definitely on the roadmap, and we're working hard to make this as self-serve as possible. All right. That looks like all of the questions for the moment. So if you visit our website shortly, we will have a copy of the recording available, so you can go back and view it at your leisure or share it with colleagues. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch on for today. Again, I hope it was helpful and informative and that you were able to follow along adequately. Again, any feedback you can provide would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, we look forward to speaking with you in the near future about your specific integration needs, and hopefully you can also benefit from our streamlined integration approach. Thanks, everyone, and we look forward to meeting with you again shortly on our next webinar. Take care.